Okay, greetings and welcome to my channel. We're just getting started here. I'm going to go ahead and share the live to a few people. Send it to our mod. We'll share it over on Facebook. Okay, we're going to be talking about, today we're going to be talking about divination and political prophecy. Going to do some readings on that. Going to give it a minute here before we get started. Okay, give everyone a little while to catch up with us here. Share this in a few places. Let's see. Faster to do that on the phone, actually. Oh, no. I'll just do it through here. Just going to share this to all of the Facebook groups that we've got going. All right, I got the chat there so I can see what y'all. Hello, Romstead. Gotten myself discombobulated. Okay. All right. So, let's see. So we're going to give everybody a few minutes to catch up, show up. Last time I got started a little early. This time we're going to give everybody a little while to show up. Like I said, we're going to be talking about divination and political prophecy. I have some of my own theories as to what I think is going to be occurring in politics in the next little while. But we're going to do some divination on that because, well, we'll talk about that when I get to prophecy and the nature of prophecy. Hold on. Now I got this pop-up chat. It's confusing as heck. Okay, there we go. I still can't. I don't want to make it bigger. I want to move it. Okay. Oh, it's still weird. Still getting used to a few things here. There we go. I think I can see everything that's going on now. Maybe. Yes. Okay. All right. That was a fun little bit there. I wanted to do it at least one more time. Hey, Ricky. Okay. So, like I said in the thing, we're going to talk today about some political prophecy, the nature of prophecy, and we're going to begin talking about accessing the database or mental plane. Okay, so that's actually kind of the point to start this all, I think. What in the world? My computer's doing something. Got this. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so as I was saying then, we going to start with the idea of accessing the mental plane, which I also used to refer to as the dot sigil. Felix, no, I use the AWA sigil and put some intent into that. Jack Grell and the Hecateion. I actually don't know about that. Interesting title. I would assume it has to do with Hecate, but again, it's not something I actually am familiar with. So I've gotten a little lost again. Okay, the mental plane, or as I used to sometimes refer to as the database, and now that I'm really getting back into accepting chaos, I might start using that term more. I'm realizing I had been going through the paradigm shift of walking away from chaos magic for several years and was actually gotten into many different things. So now that I'm coming around full circle back to chaos, it is time to start reusing some of those words. So the database, where all the information is stored, the recordings of everything that has gone on, every thought that has ever been thought, makes up a big field. Is a good way to think of it. It is like the programming behind everything. We've talked about before about the nature of existence itself, how it starts in the database with the information, the concept of the concepts behind everything. The first thought, like this is nothing. Well, nothing is an impossibility, and we continue on from there. Is the idea of kind of where creation happened, but is happening at all times. And that's part of the idea of time. But we'll get into that in just a moment. So the very first thought, which is occurring at all times, this is nothing. Nothing is an impossibility. Nothing can't be. This is where the holy noise begins. It doesn't begin on the material plane. It begins with this moment of the impossibility of nothing. From that, we get a whole reaction. Because information in process is energy. Yeah, that's all energy is this process of information in transfer. And then that information condenses around central cores, and we get the physical plane. And so it's with this constant perpetual motion that is going on at all times. This isn't something, the Big Bang, well, the physical manifestation of the holy noise that we call the Big Bang happened in a particular moment in time. I'm not trying to say that the explosion, well, in some ways, if we're still expanding, yes, the explosion is going on, but it has a process of events. It has moments that move forward, yeah, on the material plane. It's not quite the same when we get back to that original, that thought, because the thoughts didn't stop at this, nothing is an impossibility. It continued, it moved, it evolved. Everything that becomes aware has thoughts, has perceptions, has impressions from the type of perception that it perceives, what passes through its lens causes its reactions. And the first of these reactions is always the thought. And thoughts build, thoughts connect amongst each other. And this is where we find the potential for prophecy, is within that movement of the data, the information. And like I said, time, well, there isn't a sequence of events on the mental plane. So time isn't a factor. I hate that idea. Time doesn't exist. There's an eternal now to the mental plane, but time still exists. It is a concept there. People have thought about time and the sequence of events. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's that it doesn't have the same power. It is, well, kind of like reading a book. You can move backwards in the book, or even, well, I put on the live replay. So even this live, I believe you can move backwards. You can, well, can't move forward in the live, but on a book, you can skip ahead because of the flow of information as it moves. And yeah, you skip ahead in the book. If you don't know what was going on in between, you're going to get confused. But that's kind of the same idea with where we're going to get to with the idea of prophecy in general. We're going to get into politics. I can't help it. There's been a lot going on in the United States, and I have some thoughts on what's going to occur, and I would like to talk about that. And we're going to do some divination on that before we're done here. But first, we want to get through the ideas, the concepts of what I'm talking about here. Okay, so there is the movement of data, and it is within this movement of data, the synchronicity of its flow, that we do divination in the first place. I have a video on that already, but what we talk about there is the idea that the random process that we go through to sort our cards or to shake up our rune bag isn't really random. It's connecting with the flow of a moment, the flow of the information as it moves, and we connect with the lines of fate around a certain topic. And through that, we get symbols denoting what is going on within the flow of that line of fate. And this is the arcane aspect of prophecy, divination. Now, divination, even though we can go very long term, very far out with divination, for one, it tends to lose focus and therefore accuracy when you go out long distance with tarot cards or runes and that sort of thing. Really, any type of divination, there's a lot of random variables. There's a lot of chaos involved in how that divination is going to play out and what will and won't happen. Simply being given a reading can affect your future. And not even consciously, but I mean, if it couldn't, there'd be no point in divination, right? If you did divination and everything was just going to occur exactly how it says in the cards, well, then there's no point, because then even if you know, you couldn't change it. See, we can change the outcome by measuring it, by seeing what is there and trying to move against it, trying to change it or do things to help the things in our reading that we see are going to be good. We can go out of our way to welcome that stuff into our lives. Like if it says you're going to get a good job, well, then you're going to go out looking for jobs more often, one would assume. Or you might choose to sit home and wait for that job to show up, which is going to affect things and change what happens. And maybe you won't find that good job if you're just sitting at home waiting for it. Anyways, so when we reach into prophecy, we can use runes and tarot and that sort of thing, but we also need to use practical information. When we get to genuine prophecy, we don't want to just stick with the arcane. You also want to consider the mundane and what information you have about how things are going in the world. And this is augmented by divination. But we want to look at that mundane information with the arcane eye. Yeah? I'm not talking about just, okay, well, this happened, that happened, this is likely to happen. There is truth to that, and that's part of it. But when we look at the mundane with an arcane eye, we can pick up the themes. Yeah, we apply the law of aesthetics to what is going on. We find the patterns in people's behavior. And this tells us a lot about what they are going to do and what is going to occur with them having an influence over things. And yes, part of that is, okay, well, like, for example, Kristi Noem is bragged about shooting her dog. She actually bragged about this. So just practical assumption, you can tell this woman isn't going to be very concerned with kindness. She isn't going to be very concerned with being seen as gentle. Yeah. She is someone, she's going to do things that make her look, well, like she's tough, like she's hard on this and that sort of thing. And she always likes to wear her outfits. And yeah, that's the mundane aspects of it. But the flow around that, the theme of one's life, the patterns that they develop go beyond just that mundane aspect. They go into what is flowing. And you need to learn to kind of understand the pattern of the person and how the energy that is moving around that. This is one of them things that's not super easy to grasp. It is something that is, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's the vibes. I don't know how else to say it. It's the vibe. People have a vibe, and the way their vibe goes affects how the things around them go. And this needs to be taken into things this needs to be taken into account, especially popularity contests like politics. Yeah, because that tells us a lot about the person. That's what they're doing. They're trying to move their theme, their aesthetic, their pattern. They're trying to impress that upon other people and make them join, make them choose to be part of it, make them vote for them. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Barack Obama. Okay. As soon as I heard him speak, I knew he was going to get elected. And we're not going to talk about whether Obama was a good president or a bad president. That's not what we're here to talk about right now. But when he spoke, he had that sound to his voice, that vibe that catches. It was the resonance. It wasn't what he said. It was the resonance, the emotion, the energy that his words carried. And they had that sound that sounded like Martin Luther King. And I don't know if he was purposely culturing that. If he was, that was a smart move. The second I heard that timbre in his voice, I knew the guy was going to wind up being president because it has an effect. It has, history tends to go in patterns. We tend to want to choose the same people. And there are significance. There are things that are outside of the usual, signposts, and that resonating timbre to his voice is one of the things the world's reality's algorithm tunes into. And when it hears that, and when the people hear that, they think leader, they think change, they think rising, and it worked. Now, I've actually been doing a lot of political prophecy throughout, well, most of my life, because politics is an important thing. Politics is the science of power. Those of you that say you're not interested in politics, that means you're not interested in where the power is going in your reality. It is unwise for anyone who considers themselves to be working with magic to not be interested in the science of power. Politics and sorcery have always gone hand in hand. This is why kings have always had advisors that were sorcerers. To this day, I mean, Reagan had an astrologer. Vladimir Putin's got Alexander Dugin. This is part of what magic and prophecy and sorcery is for, is to work within politics. Even in the shamanic traditions, we don't like to think of that as politics. But in all of these different things that we call the shamanic traditions, they had a role in society that was just as important as whoever the leader, whatever their chief or elders, however it worked. The shaman, the Manitou, the Taltos, they were part of that. Yeah. And, well, religion and politics, it's another thing that goes hand in hand. There's a reason that they separated these things here in the States, is because they were trying to keep religion and politics away from each other, because they knew the power that one influences over the other. And religion is the thing we need to remove. Yeah. This wasn't the video where I intended to start getting into this, but spiritual anarchy needs to replace religion. I'm not talking about spirituality. Yes, spirituality in and of itself, but the idea that yes, there is spirit, but that no one has the right to be the authority. No one has the hierarchy. Well, we'll get into that later. I'm getting off on the wrong video. Okay, so let's see. What else do I want to get to before we get into the actual political prophecy stuff here? We've talked some about divination and how it works. And even when we're doing divination, you want to take the practical, the mundane patterns surrounding you into account, into what the cards or the runes are saying. But when you're doing a divination, it's a little less, because you're a little closer together. Yes, as a witch in certain minorities that have always been hunted and brutalized by the U.S. government, I agree that witches ought to be concerned with politics. I love the term spiritual anarchist as well. Thank you, Max. I know you are kind of multiple, so I don't know if Max is the name of the person that I'm actually talking to in the type, but it is the name on your thing, so we're just gonna thank you, Max. I agree, and this is another reason that we need to be considering politics, especially right now, because the Christians damn sure are. All right? And that's what it comes down to. That is the biggest thing here. These people will burn us at the stake if they get the chance. You look at Nick Fuentes, he's already advocating for it. They're already talking about anything that's anti-Christian being considered terrorism and a hate crime. Okay, this isn't some abstract concept. This isn't some thing out there away from us. This is an existential threat to our existence. We have all come out, many of us, and said that we are witches. The Christian nationalists get their way. They will punish us for that. That is part of their stated goal. They believe that anything different than them is satanic. Now, I don't mean to offend any Satanists, but since I'm already getting on politics anyways, and we're already off on it, Trump and his band are Satanists. Not in the beautiful sense, not in the cool, like Church of Satan adversary sense, but in the literal sense of the word from the Bible. Yeah? You read the Bible, and they talk about this Antichrist coming, and he claims he will speak in God's name and lead the people astray. Now, there's part where you get, heck, I try to avoid swearing on here because YouTube likes to demonetize some of us. No matter how late into the broadcast we use swear words. So anyways, I mean, his ear was shot off and grew back. This guy, I don't believe in Christianity, so I don't believe that Trump is the Antichrist. But having been Christian at one point in my life, and actually having studied to be a missionary at the same time I'm learning magic, which was the cognitive dissonance there is insane. I don't know how I could possibly be doing both these things as a child, but I was. You know, you don't see the you don't see the contradictions when you're young. But either way, the same people that were warning me of all the signs of the Antichrist, all the things he would do, even bringing the embassy back to Jerusalem, which the embassy the Antichrist will rebuild the tower in Jerusalem, or the temple in Jerusalem. My God, the man is at the very least role-playing the Antichrist. It's so close. Somebody there has got to be doing some of this on purpose. And it makes me feel like all these evangelicals that were telling me they were all the warning signs for the Antichrist back when I was involved with them people, they were actually waiting for their master. Because as soon as he appeared and did all the things that he asked, that they warned me about to watch for, they didn't shun this man. They followed him in droves. So, not to offend any of you Anton LaVey Satanists, Luciferians, or anything like that, but your true theistic Satanist is MAGA. That is exactly what they were talking about. This is exactly what they were talking about in the book of Revelations. And I think it's intentional. I think they're cosplaying it the same way they're cosplaying the Nazis. The same way they do the Gestapo dance with the little salutes and quote freaking Nazis on stuff. That it's intentional. They're LARPing all of this because, well, unfortunately, they understand this stuff. At the very least, Dugin does, and he's in the midst of all this. Alexander Dugin, Putin's chaos mage. He's probably the one orchestrating a lot of this crap. Anyways, I've gone way off the topic. I'm just rambling about politics now, and I feel like I've lost a lot of people. Let's get back into the prophecy part. Yeah? Okay. So, I have my own thoughts that I'm going to start with. And we're going to talk about that and why I think it's what's going to happen. And this is the mundane, which we will then use divination and apply the arcane eye and see if, after looking at these things through divination, how likely I am to be correct with my thoughts on this matter. We're going to be talking about the midterm elections and what's going to occur there. Okay, so I'd like to preface this with, I have only been wrong about who was going to be elected president twice. One of them was in the year 2000, and that sparked the whole rubber chicken thing, everything I'm doing. And in my defense, Al Gore won that election. He did. I mean, we've got all these different evidences. Indeed. Yes, Max, I didn't in any way mean to denigrate any of that type of Satanism. These are, I guess, theistic Satanists or Christian Satanists would be the word for these people. I don't know what a word is, but they're clearly purposely following the Antichrist. Like I said, I don't mean to offend anybody. I have a roommate that's a Satanist, and in fact, we're getting a bit off the subject again a little bit, but I usually don't buy in much for religion at all. I even kind of shy away from the religious aspects of the stuff that I've been taught. But I attended an online satanic sermon, and it's it's the only religious thing I've ever gotten anything from. Like actually felt something, actually learned something, actually got something from. Never once in Christianity. And to be clear, I was being raised to be a preacher from the age of 5 to 15. So for 10 years there, the church was grooming me. I had gotten so good at it, I actually had a full ride scholarship. Was offered a full ride scholarship to Pensacola Christian College. And who knows where I'd be right now. I would have become a preacher, and my idea was to go off over into Africa, and then I would have got converted to Yoruba or something. So I'd probably be in Africa, some witch doctor's apprentice by now, because I just don't see me sticking with Christianity forever. It couldn't work. I had the two different ideas. Anyways, so like I said, what does it say? Yeah, a lot of us got caught with that, Felix. I knew that the Nazis were involved with what we were doing in Chaos Magic since the Yahoo chat rooms, because I ran into Dugan and his freaking acolytes clear back then. But yeah, for them to have gotten as far, and for as many American coyotes to be into that crap blew my mind. So anyways, like I said, I've only been wrong twice. Al Gore and this last election with Trump, which we're going to find when we finally look into it, there's some rigging going on there too. I don't want to get big into the information there, but you can go look at these things about the 2024 election being rigged. And yeah, it's a little weird. And I've only been wrong twice. So in my opinion, it was rigged. Not willing to stake my entire source of reputation on that. Okay, so my predictions for the midterms. And this is mostly me noticing patterns and following. Like I said, this is the mundane upon which we will apply the arcane eye. Okay, so because of the way things have happened and what's been going on recently, what would you recommend as a source for that 2024 rigging? The first place I would recommend is honestly just, I forget his name, Christopher Titus, the comedian. He actually brought a bunch of people on, and he provides you other stuff from there. There's other information you can go to in the descriptions, and he cites these people, and he's got experts coming on talking about it. So honestly, if you're interested, I would first go to Christopher Titus and see what Christopher Titus had to say about it. He really wormholed on it there for a bit. And yeah, from there, just follow the trail from there. And there's a lot of information. Like I said, I'm not willing to completely stake my reputation on it, but I do think the 2024 election was rigged. And so I've been wrong twice because of rigging. So this time I'm taking that into account. With the midterms coming up, my prediction of what will transpire is that it is going to be a blue wave. They're going to try to rig it like they have in the past, but it's too much. Yeah. I think with the Elon Musk and Doge, and that's why they raided the Fulton County, Georgia ballot boxes for 2020, is to set the stage. And they're going to do everything they can to mess with it, to influence the election. But this is a major midterm. There's a lot of votes going on, all kinds of states. They might manage to affect a few, but in the end, we're going to get that blue wave. We're going to get that blue wave. But then they've secured this ballot box and in Fulton, Georgia. And it probably won't be the only one they get. They're trying to get the voter rolls in all kinds of places so that they can, so that they can fake evidence that the 2020 election was rigged. They're going to make all this fake evidence. It's like, see, this proves it, this proves it. And then they're going to use that to try and claim the 2024 election was rigged on the other side. See? And then they're going to use that to try and invalidate the midterms. Now, I don't necessarily know where that will go from there, but that is my mundane prediction about what I think is going to happen. Again, we're going to apply the arcane eye to this mundane thought pattern. And I'm going to use, today we're going to use runes. By rigged on the other side, I mean, they're going to claim that the Democrats rigged the election. What am I missing? Oh, okay. Anyways, yeah. What I'm saying is that they're going to lose the midterms despite their attempts at influencing and rigging the election, because it's gone too far. That's what's going to happen. But what's going to happen after that is they're going to claim that it was a fake election, that it was rigged, that the Democrats rigged it. And that there's no way there could be a blue wave when Trump is doing so great and wonderful and the economy is great and eggs cost 12 cents a dozen, or whatever lie madness they're going to come up with. And then, they're going to try and seize the voting boxes again. And I'd like to say I have a clear opinion as to whether they're going to get away with that or not. I don't know. And there's another reason politics matters a lot, because, if you're living in the States, there's a good chance things are going to go cuckoo. I don't know. It's not looking good out there right now. Myself being in Canada, still pretty concerned. I've got a lot of family back home. And I'm concerned for, lots of reasons. I'm not saying I'm not concerned about it just because I'm in Canada. But it is a little comforting at times to know I'm spaced away from it, I suppose. Okay. So, let's see here. Here we are. Okay. So, as I said, what's going on here? There we are. Where'd the pop-up go? And the pop-up doesn't really help. Yeah. I mean, especially for anybody that doesn't fit the standard gender roles, which I don't as well as they think I do, but I look like I pass. Yeah, I don't know what city you're in, Max, but that's awesome. I know that Seattle is fighting back, Minnesota's fighting back. I'm actually, in a lot of ways, I'm quite proud of a lot of the stuff Americans have been doing. America, not so much. Americans I love that stuff with the frogs. Oh, that was beautiful. Turn their frog stuff right back at them. You know, because of the whole Keck thing. They don't get to keep the frogs. Unacceptable. There we go. Oh, you guys can see that little triangle there. Let me get rid of that. That looks silly on there. Oops. No. I think there's a way to get rid of those. Maybe not. There is, but I don't. Okay, we're just gonna have to put up with it. Oh, camera settings. Crosshairs. Off. There we are. Hello, Zero Free Magic Secret Show. Yes, the frog flip. The frog thing was awesome. Oh, let's fix that. There we are. Okay, now things are how they're supposed to be. Still getting the hang of all this. Okay, so now what we need to decide is how exactly we're going to ask these questions about the about what I just said, because you have to be careful about how you're wording these things, because we're not doing regular divination. We're checking on prophecy. And so the first thing we're going to do then is simply ask about the midterms. How are the midterms going to go? Well, how are the midterms going to go for the Democratic Party? Okay. Well, there's going to be a woman that does quite well, but a bit of the paradigm shift will be in shadow. Someone will try to transform the public image. And we have 5 as a foundation, shadowing the victory. So, I mean, I could be a bit biased, but let's start this one from the beginning. I feel like people aren't really very familiar with this system, so let's talk a little bit about that. I call this my rune bag, but it is filled with charms, as you can see. Some of them are runes. You've got the gauze here, tear on one of the avocado seeds. I have many different versions of the runes involved in this set. And then I've got different stones and different sigils that are particular to my craft. A lot of the sigils that are put into this work, are sigils that I have used for successful spellcraft. And I feel like if I've used it a few times, sorry about that. I feel like if I have used it a few times, each time successfully, which by the way, yes, I do reuse my sigils if they work. If you use a sigil for something and it works, there's no reason not to use it again. And so I do. And if this continues and it creates a pattern of that sigil representing a certain thing, and I feel that that sigil could be useful, not just as creating a certain thing, but representing it, then I will draw it and put it in my rune bag. And then it represents that influence or aspect in the bag. I should probably call it a charm bag. So few runes anymore, but that is where we started. Okay, so there's going to be a woman who takes special prominence during the primaries. But let's start on the other side. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, this chart here is 11. and it represents paradigm shift. The paradigm shift, the change from one house to another, will be put in shadow. This is one of the runes that I use for shadow. Probably easier to do it this way, really. There we are. That is how I use that. How I wound up with that rune is a bit personal, kind of hard to explain, but it is a rune or a sigil that I use to represent shadow. A little bit different means than the other ones, but I'm realizing it's something I'm not really fully at liberty to discuss because of certain shadow pacts. Anyways, represents shadow. Be put in shadow. The next thing we have is down here at 8. The outer truth be transformed. The foundation be placed in a darkness that obscures victory. So that's how things are going to go for the Democratic Party, according to the charms, which goes along with what I was saying, but it's not the full thing of what we want to know. So we're not done yet. We are now going to switch to asking about how the Republican Party will fare in the midterms. A little more complicated, but a lot of upside down stuff. Okay, there's that lady again, right there, front and center, practically the center of the board. And below her, if you're familiar with my, oh, you can't see that very well, really. Let's see if I can shine a little more light on that for just a moment. See if that helps so you can see it a little better. I wasn't really looking at the board. I didn't realize how poorly you could see it. There. It's a little better. That is the Fs in the very center, and it literally has to do with the Fs. It's another one that is started as a sigil, but I have used it many times to acquire my Fs, be whatever they may be, and it works. So it goes on there. It's also popular with or common in my memeing for me to post something about the Fs. May the F flow freely in your favor, and you are hereby absolved from prudery. We all know what the Fs are, yeah? They're fighting, feasting, fornicating, finding out, and so things that start with your F. And in this case, that's interesting because it's very much the same lady. And what it's saying is whoever this lady is, maybe it's AOC, it hasn't said anything, but it's a woman. They are going to become obsessed with this woman. This will probably be someone that they claim, oh, her election was rigged. She's right here at the center. Let's see. These are both upside down, so they're not of significance. So yes, we start right there with the lady standing on the Fs in the center of it all. That's awesome, Max. You saw someone with a pro-witches sign from the protest against ICE today near me. I was thankful for her sign. Indeed. Fighting, feasting, fornicating, dang. Well, this. Indeed. Yes. Well, that's exactly what Fs are. Most of the really important things in the English language start with the letter F. As far as desires, it's not completely true, but it's been a saying for a long time, especially like when I was younger. Those guys that go up and say we're gonna go out and find an F, and we met one of the Either the first one or the third one there usually. But feasting would do, or fishing, or no. Whatever your F happens to be. The reasons we're alive. Yeah, because there's lots of things about life. But there are also, it's important to keep whatever your F is as a priority. It's the reason we continue to do the things we do. It's the reason we want to live and make life livable, is so that we can have those Fs. We can enjoy those feral moments. And maybe your F is witnessing beautiful paintings or writing beautiful poetry. It doesn't necessarily need to begin with the letter F, but we all have that thing. We all have that thing that clings to us, that we cling to. The reason that makes life worth living. Okay, so back to the Republicans. They've got F's with this lady standing on it. Same lady that's going to be a big star in the Democratic thing and take real center stage. The Republicans are going to get obsessed with her. And they're going to put everything on hating this woman. And they're going to let that singular issue steer them. I don't see any victory stuff here. I see a Nazar upside down. A guy bought you a ginger shot of a non-alcoholic shot the other day at a juice bar you go to. It was delicious, made of ginger and lemon juice. Yes, that actually sounds like a good combination, actually. Ginger and lemon go very well together. That sounds very nice. Yeah. So they're going to focus all of their hate on this individual. And then the steering wheel next to them. I have a few steering wheels in here. Some of them big, some of them small. They're going to put the full issue on this one small thing. They're going to let this one small thing direct everything that they do. Maybe it'll be AOC. They tend to focus on her. I'm not seeing anything about a particular lady, a particular person. But there's going to be a woman that takes center stage over the midterms. And she's going to be big on the Democratic side and even help usher in the blue wave, because the Republicans are going to be so busy being angry about her. They're just going to talk about her all the time. It's all Fox News is going to be here during the midterms, is this woman and how horrible she is. Yeah, that would be funny. And you know what? It could be, except for that she seems like someone that's going to get elected on the Democratic side. And as much as Marjorie Taylor Greene, it would be hilarious if it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, but MAGA's against her. They're going to be. Yeah, they're going to be. They are going to be really upset with her because she is clearly going out of her way to affect Trump. She saw the Epstein files. She saw them. And no matter what else you want to say about her, whether it's because it was a bridge too far for her morally, or if she just knew that these people are going down and I don't want to be on that ship. She saw the Epstein files and she got the heck out. That's what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. And they told her no. I'm sure that woman don't like being told no. Which is fair enough. Most people don't like being told no. What is this? Oh, some weird thing on the screen. That's all that is. Okay, so far, this is kind of like the Democratic thing was agreeing with what I said. This part, not so much. They're going to be more focused on this lady. So, didn't say a lot about it being rigged. Sounds like there's going to be some, the Democratic side did say a little bit about that, but this side mentioned nothing. Let's go. Can you keep going? That makes me question myself just a little bit. Like I said, my first bit was mostly the mundane, which we are then applying the arcane eye to. Indeed, we are going to be revisiting this this reading after the midterms. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's important to do those kind of checkups with this kind of stuff. Hopefully, well, I don't want to say hopefully I'm right, because it'd be great if as much as I'm not actually a fan of the Democrats either, it'd be great to see a blue wave just kind of deal with this stuff and get things back to a more controllable thing. And we might end up with Democrats I don't care for as president, but they'd be better than what we've got. That's the right direction. I'm hoping things go even more sweeping than that. Maybe we finally learned our lesson. Don't know. Okay, so now we're going to ask about how the country is going to go after the midterms. Which was the bit I'm questioning myself on. Well, the bit about if they're going to claim the election was rigged, I still think it'll be the case, but looking into the Democrats looking into the Republicans didn't say anything about that. So makes me wonder. I'm going to shine the light out here on this again so you can see it better. This one here, you're just not going to see from your angle. This is one of my ones that's flipped over a couple different ways, but it's on joy. So that's a good indication. Oh, actually, this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting a bit hungry myself, Max. Fair enough. Okay. I finished my absinthe and Coke. Anyways, so I'm not going to leave the light on for this whole time. We're going to come up with better lighting for next week. I didn't know how bad this was going to be once I used the runes. So this one here is joy. I moved it a little bit. It was more in a paradigm shift when we first started, I think, and less into the revelation of inner truth. We've got the luxury stone in the center here. We've got F's, but leading to gain. Okay. The paradigm shift is going to come. But joy, Piorth, or however you want to pronounce that, shows up in a paradigm shift upside down. Upside down. We've got Degas in the middle of 5 and 9. Foundations and outer truth. They're going to see the malarkey in outer truth. And we've got this luxury stone in the middle. So we're going to have a paradigm shift. But luxury is still center stage. Got poison. And 3, the number of bridges. Yes, Max, it was quite good. It's just a local absinthe made. It's called psychedelic jellyfish, and it went very well with the Coke. If you like the licorice flavor, which myself, I love licorice. To me, it tastes like, some people hate that flavor. To me, it tastes like childhood and dreams, and I don't know how anyone could not like it. But that's me. Bring on the solar punk utopia. Yes, exactly, Romstead. That's where we're getting at here. Okay, so there's gonna be a paradigm shift, and it's not gonna be enough. There's still poison in the bridges and futility. This one, it's kind of hard for you to see because, well, it was I didn't do a very good job. I don't know what else to say that. But that is the rune of futility. which is or sigil, whatever you want to call it, a futility. That one has kind of an odd origin. It actually was a symbol near somewhere that I used to go rabbit hunting a lot, and never got anything there. It was futile going there. It got so much to the point that I actually put that down as the sigil of futility, and I've seen a lot of effect with it since then. It is effective. I stole it from the roadside, but it works. It works. They're going to see the futility. And then we get to the frogs. Now there's that F's again. And I bring up the frogs because, well, that was fun. Yeah, you could tell them people were having a good old time. They were enjoying themselves. They're going to keep going in the type of protest that they desire. They're going to go out there and dance in frog costumes in the street. Oh my, make sure my rope stays closed. What did I just do? There we go. Well then, you would definitely enjoy this drink, Max. It was very good. It was very good. Luckily, not so much that I'm losing my mind here, but loosens me up a little bit, I guess. So, what was I at? What was I saying? Okay, the F's. They're gonna go out and continue what they've been doing. This has gotten to the point that it's fun for a lot of these people. They're going out and dressing in the frog costumes, and they're going to embrace that aspect of it. And that will lead to gain. So, oddly enough, this is a fairly positive reading for the country after the midterms. We've got an X over here with the individual, Gibo, the individual feeling their power, feeling their connection. Not necessarily their power, their connection. Individuals will begin to feel their connection and go out and have a little fun to the gain of the world. Or the country, anyways. So this is fairly positive reading. The bit about the midterms being a blue wave were certainly reflected in both the Democratic and the Republican readings. But the bit about them being accused of rigging the elections by Trump and his cronies was only really shown in the Democratic one and not the Republican one. Now, I said at the time, that makes me question my assertions. And yes, to some extent, it does. But I think what it's really saying is that even the Republicans aren't going to take that real seriously, this idea of the elections being stolen. It's going to fail. And they're just going to be so focused on how angry they are at Ilhan Omar or AOC. For some reason, I suddenly think it's going to be Ilhan Omar, but I am... This is true, Romstead. It could be... the reason I'm mostly sure it's an individual woman is because it landed in the House of One, which is individuals. So I do think it's going to be a particular woman, but she is going to be a focal point for all their hate towards women in general, as they always are. Ilhan Omar, I don't know if it's going to be her either, but I just wanted to bring that lady up for a second. I was very impressed with that guy squirting not with the guy. I was very impressed with her response to that guy that squirted the vinegar on her. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, I have some thoughts on that as well. And the Well, the first thought isn't necessarily sorcerous in nature, but I've got to say it anyways. Somebody suckered that guy. Somebody told that dude that they was selling him something nasty. Like he probably paid, I hope, his whole life savings for whatever agent he thought was in that syringe. Because you can see when he sprays it, and tries to bolt, he didn't think it was a practical joke. He didn't think that was just vinegar. He thought something horrible was going to happen when he exposed that chemical to water or to air. He thought he squirted it out, something horrible was going to happen, and he had to get the heck out of there. And he thought it was going to cause such a that he'd be able to. Like he expected that stuff to start smoking or something the second it came out of that syringe. He got suckered. He got suckered big time. The only other possible explanation for what happened there is it was a souring spell. Yeah. There are plenty of spells I have done where that's that last bit. You got to get some kind of potion onto your target. And done it before to where I just walk up and splash something on somebody, like, ha! Or blow a powder in their face, you know? But he don't look like the spell type. And I didn't get that feel when I saw the video of Ilhan Omar getting sprayed with the vinegar. I don't think it was a souring spell. I mean, that's what it would have been. Spraying vinegar on somebody, it would have been a souring spell. But that didn't take place. I don't think that's what happened. Okay. Anyways. I feel like I want to throw one more time. Trying to decide how to phrase this last bit. Oh my, what did I do with the bag? There's the bag. Okay, we didn't talk a lot about accessing the database, but that's okay. We discussed a little bit about what the database mental plane is. We're going to this week we're going to be talking about how to do that, and I'll be committing another act of haberdashery, making a hat. We're going to talk about using the concept of the thinking cap to access the database or mental plane. Most excellent, Max. This pleases me. This pleases me very much. Yeah. So we're gonna do one more question. Oh, the mental plane. I wanted to get back to that a little bit more. We are going to be making thinking caps. I'll do a video, and the last time I sewed on the channel, y'all probably think that I suck at sewing because we made the voodoo doll, or excuse me, the poppet. I don't want to use that term. I'm trying not to use that term because that's set in a closed practice. So poppet. When I made the poppet, and it turned out all well. Those of you that seen the video know it was absurd. I'm actually pretty good, but that time I was not using a pattern, not using anything. This video that we're going to do, hopefully it'll come out Wednesday. We're going to talk about the whole thing. Make the pattern, sew the hat on the video, and we're going to be using that as a muscle memory, as a kinetic trigger to get our mind to access the mental plane, riding on the idea of a thinking cap. So we'll have another act of haberdashery. It's been a while. The importance of having a good hat. Yeah, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and link that video here into the chat. And you're probably thinking, what video? Haberdashery video. This won't be the first time I've talked about haberdashery and the importance of having a good hat. Oh, spelling haberdashery wrong. There we go. This is actually one of my funner videos. I don't make a hat while we're talking, but Why not sew the hat while live streaming? That's not a bad thought. We could talk about it and then wait till the actual live stream on that Saturday to do the hat. I will consider this. I will consider this. Yeah. See, sewing machines. I have nothing against sewing machines. To be perfectly clear, I have nothing against sewing machines. They have something against me. I can't use them. I actually passed home ec in junior high, hand sewing everything because I touch a sewing machine, the needle breaks. Even so much so that the home ec teacher had, or I'm gonna switch to the normal screen. Let's see, how do I? We might go back to the rooms, but I've been off of it so long, it seems silly to keep making you look at that when I'm doing all this talking. Okay, so sewing machines. My home ec teacher, she actually, well, she didn't believe me, obviously, and I told her I can't use a sewing machine. They just keep breaking. So she gets down on the sewing machine and she's has both her hands on both sides of the fabric. She's pushing it along. Everything's going fine. And then she takes off one of her hands and has me put my hand on. And the second my hand touched the machine, freaking needle broke. And this happened like twice. So after that, she's like, okay, fine. You can't use machines. And I mean, I wasn't technically banned from the machines, but I never had to touch them again. And that's the last time I ever tried to use a sewing machine. I was like 14. I can hand sew pretty good. I've made quite a few different things, mostly just pouches and bags and, power bundles, things that are directly related to my craft, like making hats, because the importance of a good hat is absolutely vital. I mean, I'd love to use a sewing machine. I have no objection to sewing machines. I do think that in one of my previous lives, last time I was sorcerer Tal, that not that I objected to sewing machines, but that some of the things I worked with at the time had an objection to sewing machines. I remember some odd things about that, and that's probably why I can't use them now. Probably them same spirits that are supposed to be my companions are like, no, you're still not using that sewing machine. Figure I can't get demonetized for what the screen doesn't see, yeah? Anyways, trying to think what that last question is going to be. Just give me a moment for that. What else do I want to say? So yeah, we're going to discuss the thinking cap idea and accessing the database come Wednesday. And that is still part of that sorcery self-defense chain that we're working on. The belly fire, the seeing past your eyes, and the accessing the mental plane are all part of the same thing. We're using the mental plane to look somewhat into the future and also to contact the higher self and direct the body's movements through that. Hopefully the computer didn't see that, yeah? Perfectly legal here anyways, but you never know what the algorithm's going to get upset about. Anyways, right. Let's go right to the let's go right to the heart of the matter for this last question. And ask what Trump is going to be doing after the midterms. Right. was hoping for a little more brutal. But let's see what we got here. At least right off the bat, it certainly doesn't look that bad for him. Okay. So we do have the broken heart right here at the beginning. And movement. Oh. Between the revelation of truth and the all thing, which in this case would mean everything rather than all. A luxury, and between that and paradigm shift, we have the luxury stone and cutting. On the individual, yeah, we do have to be very careful with the censorship. I've never actually gotten in trouble for smoking on here, but it's been a while, and I don't think I was monetized yet. The last time I actually was actually had the pipe and all the stuff on screen. Okay, so we've got some wholeness here. And it's not holding down anything, but one bone in the individual. And then we've got, see that little lady right there? You can't see her very well from here, but she got your hands over her ears. Okay, I can't do that and read at the same time. We'll fix the lighting on that for next time. Okay. They thought you were too young for smoking. Oh no. Okay, so we've got lady with the hands over her ears. It's actually Tinkerbell. She's supposed to have little wings, but those broke off. And then we've got one of my double avocado seeds. It's got balance on one side and openings on the other. So what we're seeing here, and Manaz is actually pointed away. So there's going to be a movement away. There'll be some things that upset his heart, break his heart. Poor little Trump. And lead to a movement away. But a revelation of everything between his luxury and paradigm shifts. That's a disturbing way to think of it. But there are certain things that I think he would call as a luxury that are getting revealed. And then we've got the wholeness in the self, but when the parts of yourself you were hiding, when there are evil parts of yourself that you were hiding, becoming whole is not necessarily a positive. So what this first part is saying is that after the midterms, a whole lot more Epstein stuff's going to come out. He's going to try to deny, and try to balance the opening, the revelation. And then we've got the half a face guy here. I got to get a better perspective on him. I can see him a little better. I can't really make out his expression very well. Unfortunately, he's missing his bottom jaw. It's trouble with making stuff out of avocado seeds. It's not all of them work. And then you got a system like this where taking things out of the bag is questionable. Sometimes you can get away with removing stuff. Sometimes it makes the whole thing go kind of skiddly wampus. So that's why you'll see all kinds of weird stuff in this bag. It's because some of it, take it out and it makes things go weird. So yes, revelation of everything is exactly what we need. There's going to be a lot of denial of truth here. It's going to be hands over his ears. And that adds some credence to the idea that he's going to claim the elections were rigged. But it's really seeming like it's just not going to work. People are just not going to be paying attention to that. They're going to be too busy talking about the Epstein stuff still, which they ought to be, because that's some horrific things coming out of there. But that's another one of them things where there are certain patterns we just sense. And, well, I mean, most of us have known since the 90s what Epstein was up to. Yeah, when we got caught the first time, it made a little bit of news, and we all knew. We've all known, even though there was no proof. There's that vibe, that pattern surrounding. And it was so strong with him. I mean, yeah. Somehow Trump didn't didn't put off that same smell, though it seems like maybe he was doing stuff worse than anything Epstein was even up to. Sounds like Epstein was the possibly more Trump's client with the stuff they was talking about people being auctioned. Oh my God. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. We're not going to get into that on my channel. Some kind of details. We are going to start talking more about politics and the way Christianity is coming for us, because we got to. Yeah. I mean, I might be up in Canada myself, but there's a lot of y'all in the States, and we are in danger. It's part of the reason I've been doing so much sorcery self-defense stuff. It's because y'all might need to know, y'all might need it. They thought you were 14, 15 years old, Max. Oh my. I mean, I did read that a little while ago, but I was kind of in the middle of what I was doing. You don't look that young to me. Don't worry. Your facial hair come in. Your facial hair come in eventually. Okay. So I thought of one more reading I'm going to do before we start calling this. Even some censored art in there won't happen, huh? That's, yeah. The only thing I've gotten in trouble for so far is a couple times my robe fell open a little too much, and I didn't notice. Oh, and the one blooper. One of the bloopers I got in trouble for, that one where I'm invoking ass for ass. And, well, I mean, I kind of knew that thing was going to light on fire. I put moonshine on the altar and lit it, but it got a little out of hand, and I swear, pick up the whole altar and literally throw it out the door of the trailer I was staying in at the time. I thought it was a pretty funny blooper. YouTube said it encouraged dangerous behavior or something of that nature. So, yeah, they just kicked me out. Oh, yeah. Here we are back with this table and back with you looking at this, an empty board and me talking. Right. So the one I didn't think to do at all is just how are the elections going to go in general? How are the midterm elections going to go? There's that lady again. Okay. So we got that lady again. From first, we've got a bone down here in Revelation. The midterms. See, and this was before. And then we're back into 9, the number of revelations. Now, I do want to point out, and I'm sure a lot of you that study numerology keep going, what is he talking about with these numbers meaning those things? I don't use regular numerology. I use Horde Tech. This is Horde numerology, or dots. So, 1's the number of creation, 2 is the number of relations, 3 is bridges, 5 is foundation, and then 8 is socials, 9 is revelations of the hidden secret inside, and 11 is paradigm shift. There are the numbers in between, but those are the numbers of creation. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 11. And yes, that's different than the Fibonacci sequence. Follows it up until that last one. Okay. Well, last 2, actually. 9 and 11. Turns it back in. It's not the same as the Fibonacci sequence. Okay. So what do we have for this last one? Got that lady again. What's this here? strength and foundations. So the midterms are blocking a revelation. This lady, as an individual, is going to kind of step us into the unknown. We've got Pyorth upside down in relationships. So individual relationships are going to be tried by the midterms. I'm not sure exactly what that means, for maybe people being separated from their positions, or a lot of people, this costing them their relationships, especially like, people that get doxxed by the Epstein files. We've got a piece of rose quartz. Oh, it's not. This is actually a cutting healing stone in this particular bag, and it's between that and bridges. So perhaps this is people learning to break away from toxic relationships. Maybe that's where a lot of these women votes come from, is women finally stepping away from the toxic relationships they've been in. Don't know, but this is definitely, as I look at it, this is gleaning some toxicity, especially after I see this one in the strength and foundations. The groove will be protected. Still not saying a lot about my theory about the midterms being a blue wave, which is then claimed as the Democrats rigging the election. I still kind of think it's going to happen. Rune's only backed me up a little bit talking about, that's about the Democrats themselves. So I still think it's going to happen, but it's going to be a minor thing. Everyone's going to be super focused on what comes out in the Epstein files, because things are going to get released after that. Anyways, it's been like an hour and a half. Does anyone have any questions for me on this or anything else that I have been talking about on the channel? Doesn't have to be recent, really. If there's anything in the on the channel that you've watched that you have questions about, I'd be more than happy to answer those now. Oh, you know what? Let's ask about that in general. Yes. From what it was saying from the Democratic reading, from what it was saying of the Democratic reading, that does seem like they are going to win and the Republicans are going to lose power. That's with the like the small steering wheel there. But let's go ahead and ask about that directly. What will come of the blue wave? Okay, signals and paradigm shift, wholeness, victory of the individual, luxury, and then the cutting away and healing stone. Because it's a piece of rose quartz, it looks rather like flint, and it is kind of sharp. I guess that's why. I don't know. Some of these rocks just told me that's what they were. And when a rock tells you what it is, you listen. That's one of the big advices I can give for putting stones in your divination system. No matter what people say a rock is for, if the rock says this is if the rock says something, listen to the rock. Yeah? It sounds like some of my crazy advice, but it's true. When you're working with a stone divination system, if the rock says it means something, listen to the rock, not me if I've given advice on what rock means what, or some other guy or some book or whoever it is. Listen to the rocks. Don't listen to me. And that's the same with tarot cards even. I strongly suggest with tarot cards, runes, all these things, if you really want to get good at divination, yes, learn what other people say these things mean. But if the card or the rune or whatever says it means something else when it's working with you, listen to that. Because that's what this is. This is communication. These is words. Sometimes words take on new meanings, especially amongst friends. So, we all get our special secret languages amongst ourselves. Should be the same with your rune board. Should be the exact same with your rune board, your tarot, whatever it is. It should be that level of communication where you have your own little language and we're not talking about other stuff. So, anyways, I got distracted. Didn't quite finish all this, did I? I got way distracted. So we have, it's another one of my twofers, communication and joy in paradigm shift. That's a pretty big indicator for blue wave. We have wholeness in the center, victory of the individual, leading to luxury and the cutting and healing stone. So the midterms are going to go well. There's going to be a big paradigm shift and victory of the individual, which, 5 years ago, people would be like, oh, victory of individual, that was gotta be something for the Republicans. They are not the party of the individual anymore. They are not the party of freedom. They never really were, but it's damn hard for them to say they're not the party. They're the party not going around telling other people what they can and can't do. When that's all they do is go around telling people what they can and can't do. So they are not the party of individual freedom anymore. Can't even any way be argued that they are. That would be absurd to say. So victory of the individual is the actual party of freedom winning. Blue wave, luxury, healing, cutting away. So this is going to be a good thing. Good things are going to come from the midterm. But after the blue wave, we are going to, and we need to keep fighting. That isn't it. That isn't the end. Getting a midterm and then getting somebody like Gavin Newsom, like winning the midterms and then getting someone like Gavin Newsom in 2 years won't save us. Yeah? Won't save any of us. We got to keep fighting. They've already shown that they're willing to throw certain minorities under the rug. The Democrats have. They're about ready to give up on the LGBTQ because they think it's not popular. You think witchcraft is any better? You think if they go after us, enough people go after us, they wouldn't be just as bad? No. We have to keep fighting. We get a blue wave, we get Gavin Newsom, we get, Roe v. Wade fixed. Even then, we got to keep fighting. There is a lot to change, and the goddamn Democrats aren't the answer. They're just a step in the right direction. That's it. Okay, so this live has gotten a lot longer than I expected. I'm getting quite political. I mean, I did have a little bit in my system. Yes, they did. They really shied away. They really shied away from when it come right down to it. They shied away from giving us our own choice with that whole Kamala thing. They should have done a primary. There are so many different things. The DNC are not our friends. They're just a lesser enemy. That's all. They are only a lesser enemy. So I'm not saying don't go out and vote blue because you got to. Because you got to. I mean, I voted for Biden last time I did this. And I voted for Biden because I had to. But they are not the solution. They are only a step in the right direction. Anyways, yeah, I can't think of any more questions that need to be answered. I feel like I've done pretty good on this video. There is a lot of stuff that I need to clear up and sort out as I finally am coming to grips with what my paradigm shift is. I've had a lot happen over the last year. I've gotten married, my mom, honestly, I'm kind of twirled, still a bit twirled, but we're getting stuff back in the right focus. We should have a video out Wednesday where we're going to talk about the thinking cap, accessing the mental database, and we'll talk on that one about how to make a pattern so that if you want to sew with me on Saturday, we can do that. Yeah. So I'll put out a video Wednesday talking about the thinking cap, the database, and in that one, I will show how to make the very simple, basic, easy pattern for making a thinking cap, which I'm thinking like a nightcap. So just, your long, pointy sock hat thing. Mine will be out of black velvet. Whatever you want to make yours out of, I suggest, if you're going to follow along, something warm and fuzzy. Something warm and fuzzy. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get the not voting. We had to stare at the screen again. I hate that. I got to stop doing that. I get that. I totally understand why people don't vote. And I'm not even necessarily trying to denigrate that in and of itself. I mean, it feels like you're just playing along. But the thing is, at least in my opinion, it may be almost futile, but, it's like that picture of, it's like that old meme. Before there were memes, there was this comic. Before there were memes on the internet and memes were drawn on paper. I used to have this one of a frog choking a stork while the stork is trying to swallow the frog, and it said, "Don't ever give up." And that's kind of what voting feels like a lot of times. It's choking the stork as it's trying to swallow you. But yeah, the choking may not get you out of the squeezing the stork's throat may not get you out of the stork's mouth, but it's still keeping it from swallowing. It's still something. It's still an expression of power. It's still an attempt. I am not one to just give in to futility. If we give in to futility, well, then we lose. I don't like losing. I feel as sorcerers, we're supposed to win. Yeah? It's been a long timeline. And yes, it's felt like over the last 2,000 years or so, like we've been getting our lives handed to us on it. It's been a rough 2,000 years, but it wasn't like that before that. And pretty soon, it won't be like that anymore. Very short window of time, 2,000 years. Very short. There's more to come. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. We'll be back next Saturday. One thing I wanted to ask about these lives, these are actually starting to seem pretty popular. People seem to be liking this. I could do this a few more times a week, possibly. Maybe I'll mention that in the community tab. Oh yes, again, I have a community tab. People are welcome to post questions there as well. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this today. I'm kind of having trouble with the idea of getting off because this has been nice. I've enjoyed visiting with everybody. Magicians are the fascist ruling class. Yeah, that's a fantasy book series. I don't know the name of the series, but I've seen a few different things like that. And that's the thing. I mean, honestly, this type of power, it can be used for ill as well. But there are reasons that. Oh, plug my memberships. Yes, thank you, Felix. We do have the membership program. Before I go, I should plug that. The membership program comes with the 99-cent level. Mostly you get access to the bloopers, and then the second part of the live, if I have members that have requested stick breakings or readings, then at the end of the live, like at a time like this, I would then rather than closing, go to a live that's members only for those divinations and readings to allow it a level of privacy. Then there is a $9.99 one, which comes with 3 stick breakings or a divination every month. And then there's one above that for, oh my gosh, I can't remember what my own perks are. But the one above that, I think it's $24.99, and it is you get 1 reading a month, and those can be done on the live or individually through chat or Gmail. Like, it doesn't have to be done on the live; it just can be. And then the one above that, well, it's $99.99 a month, but that will get you 45 minutes a month of personal questions and answers and help with your spellcraft. Possibly get you some spell work done for that price, depending on what you need. Now, I do want to also remind you that as far as my spell work and those stick breakings go, I do have prices for them, but it's a sliding scale according to need as well. If you're someone in my audience that really needs something, and it's a valid case, and you can't pay me, or you can't pay me right now, that doesn't mean not to reach out to me. Yeah, I'm not just here for the money. This is more than that. I'm not making a lot of money off of this channel or the or my readings at the moment. It isn't just about that. So if you really need something, get a hold of me. I'm not promising anything, but if I feel your need is valid, I am willing to work with you. And that's, like I said, a sliding scale up to and including 0 potentially, if I feel it's warranted. Like you said, the name of the series is Bartimaeus by Jonathan Stroud. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Bartimaeus by Jonathan Stroud. I've heard of the author before. May have been subconsciously inspired by the Demon Duke Barbados from the Ars Goetia, or maybe directly based on, though I don't know. I headcanon them as related. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, odds are he's probably read the Goetia before at some point, if he's even writing about wizards and that sort of thing. There's a couple different books where the people with magic are the bad guys, for sure. I mean, it used to be a classic trope, the evil sorcerer king. I'm trying to think of some examples, but the first one that comes to my head is a Piers Anthony novel, and now that I've reread those books as an adult, I am not interested in plugging his work anymore. Yeah, I don't know if you know who that is, but go back and read him as an adult, and you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't okay. But we're not going to get into that. I think we're going to call it here. Let's see, I plugged the memberships, said what we're going to do Wednesday. Yeah. I really wanted to leave you on that note of 2,000 years is a very short time period. And we've had strong influence during much of that time, even today. Sadly, the sorcerer I know with the most influence is Alexander Dugin, Putin's Rasputin. But we seem to be keeping him under wraps. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. He's definitely managed to do He's definitely managed to spread the Operation Mindfunk all the way over to here. And he's gotten away with some of the stuff he wrote about in his book back in the day. But it's not as well as he expected. Yeah, they're still fighting in Ukraine and the United States. It's close to civil war, but we're not there. We're keeping him at bay. You lucid dream and meditate at times to visit character. Oh yeah, I have accessed fictional characters before myself. I don't usually do it through dreams, but I have summoned both Gandalf and Bugs Bunny. Both worked. Both came. And both were useful to me in what I needed at the time. So yeah, simply being fictional does not prevent something from appearing and being useful. I mean, gods, right? I don't know if you're going to agree with that. A lot of people don't agree with my opinion on that particular matter, but I think most gods are egregores. Most things are egregores. Or at least have a lot of ego. Plenty of them have taken on a role. But as I've said before, just because something is a god does not mean it's right. It does not mean you have to do what it says. I mean, look at the Greek myths. You know, hanging out with the gods didn't end so well for a lot of the people in the old Greek myths. That's spiritual anarchy. Indeed, love to all the egregores. Tulpas have rights. Anything that is self-aware. Once it perceives, it believes, it conceives, and it is. Or, as I said before, once it perceives, it never leaves. Anything that has achieved self-awareness has rights, has existence, has purpose, has its own being. It becomes part of the whole. It becomes part of the all thing as a perceiving being. Okay. That's why eating in general is a problem. Not just eating meat or eating plants or any of it. Eating in general is a problem, but we got to do it. It's another one of the things we do it. Maybe we don't. Maybe part of us don't want to, but we have to. Yeah, fair enough. I've definitely worked with a lot of demons and gods in the past. Some of the beings I work with on a regular basis are considered gods, but they don't get all gaudy at me. You know, I won't work with beings that get all like, I am your God and you must da 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 da. No, you're not. No, I'm not going to. Learned a long time ago that's unacceptable. Toxic relationships do not fly, no matter where your existence hails from. Yeah, I keep trying to get off of here, but like I said, I've been having a good time. This has been fun today. We're definitely going to do this again next Saturday. I might put a thing about, but I might put out a thing Saturday, or excuse me, we're going to try and put something out Wednesday. That's not what I was trying to say. I got distracted again. That's the trouble with the lives. You guys find out, sorry. I try not to use that term anymore, different time. Try to say y'all instead of you guys. I don't mean to gender anybody when I say that. I've hurt people's feelings before, so I'm really trying to get that one out of my vocabulary. But it's just habit, For a long time, that's just how we spoke. And things changed. And I understand it. I accept it. And I don't mean to I'm not trying to say, I'm from an older time. No, I'm trying to learn. Trying to remember not to say the little things that hurt people's feelings. Anyways, don't know what else we have to say here. All is groovy. Looks like the elections are going to go well. I'm going to repeat my prophecy one last time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. We are going to be doing this almost every Saturday from now on. And we'll see where that goes. We're going to be talking a little more politics from now on because I can't call myself a sorcerer and ignore the dangers to my community. So we're going to be talking about these things. Anyways, the AWA will be getting involved in that. That whole thing has gotten into a ladies and gentlemen. Yes, y'all all cabal. Indeed. There must be quite a gap because it seems like a gap in the timing today. Anyways, what am I saying? Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, take the opportunity to do so that you'll catch future chats. I'm going to put a post in the community tab discussing if we want to do this more often because I've enjoyed this. And yeah, other than that, I want to reiterate my prediction for the midterms. Blue wave. Trump tries to claim it's been a rigged election, and he keeps screaming about it, but the midterms go against him so poorly that he's not even able really to get any momentum with it. Everyone's like, yeah, we've heard that joke. What's in them files over there, boy? That's what I see happening. That's, now that I've done the readings, that's what I see happening, is he tries to do it. The Democrats, there's going to be a woman that is a real star, and the Republicans are going to spend so much time complaining about her that that's just all they do. They're going to spend the whole election talking about how horrible, I'm going to guess either Ilhan Omar or AOC, but might be some other lady come out of nowhere. Who knows? But that's all they're going to talk about. And they're going to focus everything on her. And they're going to lose simply by saying they're not her. I mean, that's what happened with Trump, right? They kept talking about him and talking about him and talking about him. Everyone complaining about him made him rise, made him get attention. And it got him where he was, where he is. Might be the same for this lady. Maybe this is maybe we'll see. Maybe then we'll find out who's actually going to be running for president in 2028. Or 2028. Anyways, I feel like this has gone pretty well. That is my prophecy for the coming election. And yeah, maybe Jasmine Crockett. I don't know. I'm not going to ladies, gentlemen, and the fae and jesters out there. Yeah, that one's fun. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I keep getting distracted. I'm ridiculous today. I can't believe how often this happens on my filming. Well, not really, but you guys see me ramble. Y'all have seen me ramble on and on many times. Either way, I think we're going to call that for today. I'm actually going to go this time. Bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.